So we need to talk about Spark Muse 1.1 because this is a bigger story than most people realize. This is the first meta closed source model that is going to be available through their API. But the pricing at which this is available makes it an extremely capable model as a workhorse model. However, this is actually a pretty capable model when it comes to front-end design, and it's surprisingly great at web application development. But more importantly, Meta can actually catch up to the worlds of OpenAI's and Anthropic pretty quickly. Okay, so this is the second iteration of their Muse Spark model. It's actually competing pretty closely to Opus 4.8. Now, after a Llama 4 debacle, has essentially becomes a closed source lab, which is a little sad. Okay, so in this video, I'm going to show you some of my tests, but more importantly, I'm going to look at why this model is special, because there are some interesting capabilities that are not present in other models. Okay, so the very first thing about benchmarks, they have highlighted quite a few benchmarks. I would say in terms of my own testing, this is probably close to Sonnet 4.5 or GLM 5.2. The biggest advantage of this model compared to something like GLM 5.2 is that this model is multimodal in nature from the ground up. So it can not only process image text, but also videos natively, which is really great for Meta because they're trying to build personalized superintelligence. Now, when you look at how closely this is integrated into some of their products, it kind of makes sense. Alex Wong, who runs the Meta Superintelligence Labs, posted this. Compute Daddy Dylan has spoken, and it's in reference to this blog post from Simi Analysis, which I highly recommend to read. So here they say that at the simplest, three things you need to build a true frontier lab: data, talent, and compute. We believe Meta is the only hyperscaler neolab on track to be world-class at all three, and therefore has the best chance to catching up with Anthropic and OpenAI. And if you read through the blog post, they actually have some really good arguments there. So the first thing, the amount of compute. Meta is actually set to surpass OpenAI and Anthropic. Now, unlike Google, who has a lot of compute, but they have a cloud business, actually does not have to rent this compute to other labs. Now, the second argument from the blog post is that Meta has one of the best data pipeline available to them. And today, it's all about building the best RL environments and pipelines for training these models. Now, for economically viable tasks, screen recordings of knowledge work plays a critical role today. Now, recently there were reports that Meta is asking their engineers to screen record, and this is going to be critical for building their RL environments. There was a backlash around it, but keep in mind, it's essential for training high quality models. And they're really taking this seriously because about 70% of the new grads and a significant number of seniors will be contributing to making RL tasks or environments full time, which is really significant from a major tech lab. So as I show you the results, don't look at the current state of the model. Think about what this will be able to do in 6 months. The API pricing for this model is actually extremely competitive, and it can actually become a workhorse model in most cases. Now, to get started, you can sign up and you get $20 as free credit. So you can use it in something like open code to start. Okay, so let me show you a couple of tests that I've ran with this model with some interesting capability. So first I asked it to create a simple encyclopedia of the first 25 legendary Pokemon with all the details that it can include. And here's the output. Now, this is actually surprisingly well compared to the previous version. Keep in mind that was released in April, so just a few months ago. It added these neat little animation. And this is something I would expect from an Anthropic model with good taste. So this was actually really surprising to see. This model is multimodal in nature, so I provided a few reference images along with a prompt to create a video out of it. And to be honest, it kind of surprised me. So it's not a video model. It basically combined those visuals along with some text, but still the output is really good. But it does have access to the Muse image model for image generation. So I asked it to create a subsequent image. It was able to do that. And And then it was able to even create a simple short for me based on the images that I provided, right? So pretty nice so far. For this next prompt, I asked it create a real-time tracker for International Space Center position. And again, it actually did a surprisingly good job. I wasn't expecting this, right? So it was able to render the position correctly. Here's the current real-time position on the real-time data. Now, then I wanted to see whether it has access to the data from Facebook, Threads, and Instagram, because these are the platforms that Meta actually owns. So I asked it to search these 3 different platforms. So I ran these just a couple of days ago, and if you actually look at these links, it is able to retrieve information, and then it also gives you the link where you can go and actually look at the content. So here is the actual post. Now, the good thing is that it is not censored at all. So there are things that people are saying which are good, and it also included skepticism and debate. Now, here are a couple of examples of these. So this is from the pragmatic engineer who is calling the model impressive on paper, but citing Meta's track record dev infra as terrible. So this is the actual post. So it's actually nice to see that it's able to look at different platforms. And this is, I think, makes this specific model agent very useful. Now, some other capabilities within the platform, and these are probably platform specific. The harness enables you to use multiple sub agents. You can just ask the model and it will create those multiple sub agents for you and then aggregate the result. Simon Wilson wrote a really interesting blog post where he was able to figure out some really interesting tools that are present on the platform. Now, I was trying to check that, and there are those tools which you can point the model to, and it will be able to extract really accurate information from Facebook, Threads, and Instagram, specifically for your account. So if you are actually using this for a Meta platform, I think it's going to be an extremely powerful. Now, there are very similar tools available on social graph fetching and even for doing research on the commerce side of Meta platforms. So if you dig into this, this is a lot more than a simple model release. Now, in terms of tools, they have integrated image tools and also a sandbox which runs Python commands for you. And so, for example, in this case, I simply asked it to create a photo of a raccoon sitting on a trash can wearing trash as a hat. This is inspired from Simon Wilson's blog post. I'm assuming it's using the new Muse image model to create the images, and it's actually pretty accurate. It sticks to the provided prompt. But then I use OpenCV to analyze the image and find neat things about this specific image. So it did some image operations. So for example, here's edge detection on that. Then the distribution RGB histogram. So these are the color distribution within the image, which is pretty neat, right? Here is a grayscale image, then it does a blurring operation, right? So these are just simple filters that it's passing in order to perform different operation. And all of this is happening within a sandbox that Meta is hosting on their end. Now, within the container, they have some really specific tools. So for example, you can ask it to try the container.visual grounding tool. And this basically runs object detection. So if you look at this output image, this really shows you what are the different objects that are present. If you have seen something like SAM, segment anything model from Meta, things like that could be incorporated with a deeper analysis on images. And something like this is going to be really critical for e-commerce. For example, if you have different products that you're, say, selling on Facebook Marketplace, you can use this to basically tag those items, label them, right? So this can actually make your workflows very, very useful. And that's why I'm saying that this model is a lot more than a simple model release. This is more of a platform play where Meta is not reliant on any other model provider. In fact, if you look at some of their internal benchmarks, they say that their internal engineering teams are preferring this model over something like GPT 5.5. It's very close to Opus 4.8 on their internal benchmarks. Now, we will have to see, but I'm actually excited about what the next iterations of this model are going to be. And hopefully, they will also open source some of these models. So I'll highly recommend to check this model out. It's available on meta.ai. And if you are a developer and want to test the API, you get $20 free credit. Anyways, I hope you found this video useful. Thanks for watching. And as always, see you in the next one.